Hi everyone, this is a continuous tutorial from the previous tutorial. We looked at this example basically in one compiler when we declare int, mynum, float, and character. And then here, as you can see, we use this syntax I explained to you in my previous tutorial to represent each variable. For today, we're going to talk about loop. Loop is basically a condition which is continue processing until the condition is actually met. So for example, I want to reach 100 from 0. I'm going to keep going, incrementing by 1 or 2 or 5, whatever, until I make sure I reach 100. And the same if you want to decrement. Okay, so let's look at this example, loop example here. We have here, basically here we imported the library. Here we started the main. So I declared I as 0 and I is equal 1. I is integer here, okay, and I equal 1, I less or equal 10, I plus plus as an increment by 1. And then print is this digit, which is I. So if I go to the compiler, so here we go. I'm just going to delete these because it's going to give me some errors if I don't. Okay. As you can see here, it gives me straight away 1, 2, 3, all the way to 10. But I could also make changes to this. If I go int I equal 1, so I actually don't need that. Just comment it. So then here give me the same result. But if I go I equals 0 and then I is less than 10, then it's going to give me the still that he's telling me less than 10, so not to include 10. And I plus plus go by 1 increment. But if I go I equal 10, and then I is more than 0, and then for example, I'm going to go decrement, and then I run it. It's going to give me, it's a program did not output anything because I'm saying I is 10 and I is more than 10, and then look for 10 going backwards. It's not gonna find it. So I need to make sure I get my actual maths correct in this situation. Okay, so it's, for example, here let's go I equal 0. Sorry, I equal 10. I is more than 0, and then a minus decrement from 10. So as you can see, 10, 9, 8, all the 1, 2. So if I go more than or equal, sorry, or equal 0 and I run, then it's going to include 0 in my loop here. Yeah, it's quite easy and simple here where we use the for loop. Let's look at another example here. Okay, as you can see here, I'm declaring it uh, here is slightly different because I use a equals 0, b equal 12, and c equal 23. A is less than 2, a plus plus, and give you that chance to run it yourself and see what sort of result is going to be. Okay, and then here I said a plus b plus c in terms of these multiple conditions happening at the same time. Let's look at this in another example, which I just showed you earlier, here where I'm decrementing minus minus, as in basically go by minus by 1 at a time. Yeah. And this is basically a good example. This also could help you in terms of your actual final assignment. Just give you some ideas on how this works. So I'm just gonna, for saving time, I'm just gonna paste. And let's get another one here. Rest of the code, saving time. I'll explain that to you in a minute. Now what it does, this actually, so if I run it, it's giving me hello world. All these lines of code is just to replace the R with E and the E with R. So the actual text is, as you can see, it's kind of spelling error. So here I'm using this just to get rid of R with E and then get rid of E, replace it with R. So as you can see here, the C program to replace letter R, the letter E, and E with the R. So I imported my libraries here. And then here I use my function here called replace. Okay, I use my arrays. Here I chose 10 for my array in terms of the stack, in terms of how many elements I can choose. You can put 50, 100, 20, it's up to you. Here, as you can see, hello world. So if I, for example, reduce this to 9, it's not gonna give me the full text because it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if I reduce this to 9, what's gonna happen now is just gonna give me without the D because there's not enough space for it. So that's why I make sure I have the right amount. We normally go over it by a few numbers just to stay on it. Okay, so that's why. So this is another example. So here we use loop to traverse in the string. Here I can see some of my actual, what you call it, comment. Traversing is basically the process in which each element of a data structure is accessed. Accessing an element of data structure means visiting every element at least once. So here I'm using my loop, I equals 0, I less than y, I plus plus, because I want to go one by one here, incrementing, looking for the R and looking for the E. So here I said if the words I equal to R, then replace it with E. So I start looking for it, straight away I replace it with E. Else if I is E, then I need to make sure that to be replaced with R. See why I call it I? Because we normally use is a common practice among programmers. We use I for loop. You could call it loop if you want, but we use I for that. And then you return your actual result. And this is your driver code, which is basically the hello world, which is what we've declared, the character E, and we declared R, and then we use that result to basically replace the words R with E. And here this is because it's a string, that's why we're using this syntax for the string. I mean, if you don't understand it, if you don't understand every single line, don't worry too much about it. All you got to understand how the functionality works here in terms of the code. Just break it down into small pieces and then take one step at a time. It's quite simple and easy. We don't expect you to sort of straight away start coding to that level, but it's a good way to get you started in terms of using loop. If I get rid of all these comments, you will see it's a very small actual code, and then just reduce the size. All you need is a loop, and within your loop, you need to have to make sure you've got your statement if, the condition if actually here, because I'm going from 0 all the way to, because 0 still counts, so it's here 0, 1, 2, 3, going from all the way to the end. So make sure you've got the right syntax and structure involved, because with the basic programming language, you always have a sequence, loop, and condition. Those are the three rules of coding.